Trackhouse Racing, which is known to be owned by Justin Marks, also co-owned by Pitbull, has sold a minority stake in the team to a hedge fund kind of group. So we are going to talk about that today. Here's the official announcement. Avenue Sports Fund invests in Trackhouse. The Avenue Sports Fund today announced it has acquired a significant minority stake in Trackhouse Entertainment Group, the parent company to Trackhouse Racing, which fields teams in the NASCAR Cup Series, the most popular racing series in North America, and in the FIM MotoGP World Championship, the premier motorcycle racing series in the world. Then the press release goes on to talk about Trackhouse. Here's what Trackhouse does in racing. They got a NASCAR team. They got a MotoGP team. Here's what they've done. Who's here drives for them or rides for them. And then it goes on to say this. We are excited to partner with Justin Marks and his organization as they continue to compete aggressively in the NASCAR Cup Series and MotoGP Series and potentially in new motorsports in the future, said Mark Lassery. Apologies if I pronounced that wrong. Avenue Capital's chairman, CEO, and co-founder. NASCAR has long held its position as the most popular racing series in North America, and MotoGP is now one of the most popular motorsports in the world, with millions of cumulative race attendees and a substantial digital audience, all compelling attributes for an investment by Avenue Sports. Justin Marks said the partnership with Avenue will make Trackhouse Racing more competitive in the marketplace and on the track. From the day of Trackhouse's inception, it has been a central goal to build a valuable, diverse, and global motorsport platform. Partnering with Avenue in a monumental step forward in continuing to develop and execute that vision. With Trackhouse in the Avenue portfolio, the company will be allowed to draw on the experience and expertise of a leading global sports fund to scale into one of the most powerful motorsports companies in the world with best-in-class on-track competitiveness, partner services, and racing event experiential assets. So yes, Trackhouse Racing, Trackhouse, well, the entertainment group, which that's what owned Trackhouse Entertainment Group, and there's Trackhouse Racing. They're in the same branch, just Trackhouse. Okay, let's just say Trackhouse. So why am I overcomplicating this? Trackhouse has a new minority stake owner. Who is Avenue Sports Fund? It's a branch kind of like, so all right, so we just talked about it. Trackhouse Entertainment Group owns Trackhouse Racing, so it's a branch of Trackhouse Entertainment Group. Well, this is kind of the same thing. We have Avenue Capital Group, and then we have Avenue Sports Fund. It's a branch of Avenue Capital Group, which is co-owned, co-founded, as it said in that statement, by Mark Lassery, and he used to co-own the Milwaukee Bucks in the NBA. He co-founded the Avenue Capital Group with his sister, Sonia Gardner. It's been around since the 90s, and if you want the Wikipedia definition of what Avenue Capital Group is, Avenue Capital Group is an American multinational investment firm focusing on distressed securities and private equity with regional teams focusing on opportunities in the United States, Europe, and Asia. So they're both a private equity firm and a hedge fund. Translation, they have a lot of money. It says here on the Wikipedia page, they are worth like $12 billion, $9.5 billion. That's the assets they manage at least. So they control a lot of money. They have a lot of money. They invest a lot of money. So this is an investment on their part. We saw something similar last year or 2 years ago with Joe Gibbs Racing. Joe Gibbs Racing, a minority stake was sold off to Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment, which a part of that group was the Washington Commanders owner. So we have seen other sports owners who are a part of these big hedge fund, these big money groups essentially, buy into a racing team, a minority stake, just for financial purposes or just to have that on their portfolio or just to help them in whatever way, shape, or form. So from their aspect, it's about money. It's about, making an investment, getting that investment returned, that kind of thing. For the NASCAR side of things, this I can talk to you a little bit more about because I know a little bit more about this than I do with business and money and investment. Sometimes things are too big for my head. But essentially, Trackhouse this money has been invested. This money has been given to them. They sold off a minority stake for a certain price. We don't know the price. But I'm assuming that now that this group, this Avenue group, has an investment, they have spent money in Trackhouse, they now, get a say in Trackhouse in terms of what they do with their future, whether it's making a change, whether it's adding on to a building, or whether it's, spicing up the logo a little bit. Whatever it may be, they now get a say in that. But also, they can throw more money into the bank. They can throw more money into Trackhouse if Trackhouse wants to make a move. Why is that relevant right now? Oh yeah, Trackhouse wants to expand. Well, this is quite the convenient timing. Yes, NASCAR's charter deal negotiations are still going on. We don't need to get into the scrap and ugliness of that, but let's get into the actual charter, not the agreement, not the discussion, but how you expand your operation as a NASCAR Cup Series team. Well, we've seen teams do it over the year. In fact, Front Row is in the middle of doing it. 2311 wants to do it, and of course, Trackhouse wants to do it. So how does a Trackhouse team, or how does a NASCAR team go from 2 cars to 3 cars? Well, if you want that 3rd car to be a full-time car, to be guaranteed a slot in every race, to be guaranteed money in terms of, the charter, a part of the charter agreement is that you are guaranteed a spot in every race, but you have to participate in every race, but you get a little bit of extra cash. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. But the charter agreement is, as I stated, you get locked into the race and all that stuff. But without that, as I said, you're not guaranteed a spot in every race. So when the Daytona 500 happens, there's only 36 spots that are locked in. So if you're 37th through, technically there could be infinity cars qualifying, but let's be realistic. Let's say there's 43 cars qualifying for the race. That means there are 6 cars to fill in 4 spots. 2 cars are going home. So if you have this charter, you're guaranteed a spot in. Well, the thing is that these charters were only invented 8 years ago, and they have skyrocketed in their value. Initially, they were sold off. Well, they weren't sold. They were assigned to teams, longtime teams like Hendrick, Joe Gibbs Racing, Team Penske, Stuart Haas. They were given charters because of their long standing in the sport. But then, as for the other teams, they I think they had to fight over it a little bit. But there were only 36 charters. They reduced the field from 43 spots to 40, meaning that 4 spots will be available for open cars, also known as part-time cars or teams who don't have those charters. And if you want a charter, you have to buy it off someone, and we have seen a lot of this in the last 5 years. We saw it with Furniture Row Racing in 2018. They sold off their charter for a couple $1 million, and they got, as I said, they only got a couple $1 million out of that thing. Fast forward to 2023, BJ McLeod sold his charter for Live Faster Motorsports for $40 million. So this thing, this piece of paper that guarantees you a spot in the race every single race, all of a sudden, the value of it has skyrocketed from a couple $1 million to $40 million. So these teams that want to expand, that want to make a new team, that want to expand to an extra car, whatever it may be, well, if they want to make that team full-time, if they want to make it worth their investment, then you need a charter. But if that thing's going for, let's even reduce it, Stuart Haas Racing, their charters are reportedly selling for 20 to 25 million. That, you can't just, find $25 million sitting under the couch cushion. Like, might need some help. And yes, I know Trackhouse has Pitbull, who has a lot of money, but they're going to need a little bit of help there. Every team, if you want to buy a charter, you're going to need a little help. You're going to need a little bit of financial support when things are going for $20+ million. And also, with this charter, once you acquire the charter, the assumption is, if a charter deal is reached, is that it essentially grows in value as time goes on. So let's say Trackhouse, they buy a charter this year, let's call it $20 million. Let's just make it a nice even zero. And let's say 20 years from now, they want to reduce back from a 3-car team to a 2-car team. Well, if money has increased, inflation happens, and all of a sudden that thing's worth $60 million, then yeah, you got a pretty good return. So it's NASCAR's version of franchises, where A charter guarantees you a spot in the field every race. You get some money for it, and if you want to sell assets, if you want a return on your investment in NASCAR, that is what the charter is for. You can sell your team, you can sell your shop, you can sell your parts. That only gets you a certain amount of money. Selling a charter is guaranteed tens of millions of dollars at this point. So, yeah, you kind of need that, and I'm sure this group, this Avenue group, they're going to help Trackhouse with that money, getting that investment, and expanding to a third car. Now, once again, this charter deal is in negotiations. It expires at the end of 2024. We don't know what the situation is going to be. NASCAR doesn't want to make charters permanent. They only want to extend it by 7 years. The teams want it to be permanent, and they also want more money. And if there's not a deal, then the charters are worthless. This last 10 minutes I've been talking has been pointless. But if the charter deal gets reached, if charters are still a thing, it's essentially something to guarantee you a bunch of money and also to guarantee your spot in the field as long as you have that charter. So Trackhouse, if they want to expand to a third car, they are going to want a charter to guarantee themselves a spot in the race every single week and also just to guarantee themselves money in a sense. But then the question will be, who's going to be that driver? Once again, it's going to come down to Shane van Gisbergen and Zane Smith. Obviously, Zane Smith's had a rough rookie year in the Cup Series. As for Shane van Gisbergen, his first full-time season in NASCAR, he's got 3 wins in the Xfinity Series, all on the road courses. Still learning the ovals, but with all that road course success, you would think it'd be hard for Trackhouse to not look at that. So my guess is still going to be Shane van Gisbergen, but Zane Smith, he would be the second option, or he would be the other option to go in that car. And no, I don't know when this is going to be official. Once Trackhouse is going to expand, I don't know when they're going to announce it. And frankly, I don't think they will until the charter deal is done because, frankly, I don't even know why Front Row announced it. They announced it before the charter deal was done. But once the charter deal is done, once the teams are guaranteed to have their charters, to have their money, then yes, they will buy that charter. They will make the official investment. Pinned will be put to paper. And Trackhouse will have their third charter, and they will have their third team. It's just a matter of who the driver is. So, yes, Trackhouse has a new owner. It's a group, but they have a lot of money. So Trackhouse getting some money out of this thing. What are they going to do with that money? Put it into a charter, if charters exist. I might have overcomplicated that. If so, I apologize. Ask questions in the comments. I'll do my best to answer. Thank you for watching this video. Any other news, I will let you guys know. We got Indianapolis this weekend. The Brickyard 400 is back. I'm so excited. Thanks again for watching. Have a great rest of your day.